DePauw Theatre's musical Into the Woods brought its curtain down on September 29th after 4 great successful performances. The cheer and applause for the stars on the stage show how much the theater was filled with energy. However, the theater production is not only about on stage. There are people working on the side of the stage, behind the stage, and under the stage. This is a documentary about behind the scene. Welcome to the Backstage.
Lots of color. You guys worked with me before, you had lots of color. So, more pinks, purples, blues in the beginning. Act 1, Act 2 will be more greens and, because it is a very dark Act 2, the story goes.
Hair and makeup. We don't really have anybody for hair and makeup yet. So maybe help. Is anybody here really good at hair and makeup? Yeah? Okay.
I've done it several times.
Right.
So we did Into the Woods here in 2012. So I was very familiar with the show. Loved the film that came out in 2014. And on top of that, I have always been very interested in fairy tales, different versions of fairy tales. I've always done with my acting classes. I've done fairy tale improvs. In my design classes, my costume design class, they get to choose a fairy tale character to design because there's so many different ways of telling the stories and different versions out there. Not only the Brothers Grimm, kind of almost standardized a lot of those fairy tales, but just all the places that they came from and how they evolved and all that. I've always been very interested in it. So with this, love of fairy tales throughout my teaching and life and all of that, I thought that I think it would be fun to do Into the Woods. And another thing about Into the Woods, it's so great, is that it's such an ensemble piece. So one of our goals was to bring these student groups together and to just provide a really good opportunity. So we were looking for something that had a more ensemble nature to it, so that it could be very collaborative and inclusive, and I think it worked. The time the director spends is mostly balanced between preparing for rehearsal and rehearsal, but also being the overall artistic eye. So keeping in touch with the design team, keeping in touch with the tech team, making sure things are happening, like the pre-show announcement or the checking in with the publicity team to see if they need any ideas or if they need any resources or anything like that. So keeping in touch with everybody is a huge part of it. But preparing for rehearsal is making sure that, since it's such a large cast, and it is a show where people are coming in and out all through the show. There's not one set location where actors are coming in and out of a house, for instance. They're in different places in the woods throughout the entire show. So just trying to keep track of where people come in and go out, how they're configured on the stage. There's a concept called mise en scene. So you want to make interesting stage pictures using levels and diagonals and using depth, what best serves, what kind of movement and choreography and staging. Make the most out of those moments on stage. So we mark it and then we go back and run it. And then if they have any ideas, or if their impulse is telling them, well, could I do this? It makes more sense if I do that. Then in the whole scheme of things, if it works, then I'm open to that. But you have to have a ground plan to start out with from which to deviate because of the time constraints. So it's a lot of hours, but yeah, it's a joy, work of love.
Right in front of everybody, all the way over to stage left. Is that him? No, this is not the boy.
The cast does work very hard, obviously, but the backstage production crew, publicity team, production stage manager Miranda Wagner is just the best. She is on top of everything always, and always has a smile. Sometimes people think that a production stage manager has to be very stern and demanding, but I think she's very effective in the way she works with not only the cast but also her team. We had assistant stage managers backstage, deck manager, props people, publicity people, making sure with their incredible creativity getting people to come see the show. It obviously worked because we were sold out 3 of the 4 nights. And I think, as far as like my role as the director too, I'm not wanting to jump on stage and get that kind of recognition. And I think they might feel the same way. We want to be a part of this thing. We want to work backstage and be a part of this amazing project, but we don't necessarily need to be in front of an audience. It's unbelievable how many people it takes to put a show on like this. I think even though, you want to be a part of something, getting your name in the program is pretty cool, I think. And getting to collaborate with a lot of creative, intelligent, enthusiastic, and positive people is really a blessing and an honor, I think. We finished blocking the show. There was a lot of joy and happiness at that moment because when you're blocking a show, it just seems like you're never going to get to the end. And the night we did, everything was, it was a happy moment. I felt that all of that time and energy was well spent. So incredibly proud of everyone that was involved in the production. Yes, it was a huge relief because not only for me, but I saw the students struggling with, just all the time that they had to devote to this. And obviously other things can have to take the back burner. So seeing their constant positivity and how much they loved the show, and the fact that I think they felt that the time they spent in the woods was well worth it, and I did too. I was very, very proud of them and very humbled at the same time.